Welcome to Life with David. I'm David, and today my Samsung Gear S2 needs a new battery. I got this in 2016, and the original battery has been going strong until the last few months. It's amazing that this lasted for 5.5 years of continuous use. I'm not ready to get a new watch, so why don't you join me as we replace the battery? I'd like to spend a moment on safety. There's nothing more important than keeping you and your loved ones safe. Be sure to read, understand, and follow the safety rules for your tools. Using your tools properly will greatly reduce the risk of personal injury. And always use the appropriate eye, hearing, and respiratory personal protective equipment. This time we're working with very tiny and fragile parts. There's a good possibility that you'll damage or destroy your watch if you're too heavy-handed. In addition, we'll be using sharp razor blades that can cut you if you're not careful. If you're following along, you're doing so at your own risk, and if you don't feel comfortable doing any of these activities, then don't. Now, let's get started. I got this Samsung Gear S2 SR730V smartwatch in the summer of 2016. I've used it continuously for 6 years. However, for the past 6 months, the battery has been rapidly losing capacity. I like this watch, so I decided to replace the battery. I went online and found several batteries for sale. I chose this one from Amazon since it came with a tri-wing driver that fit the watch. The tri-wing driver I had was much too big. It arrived in a large box the next day. Let's open it up. Well, there's a lot of packing material and a small box that contained the battery and tools. The tools included tri-wing and small Phillips screwdrivers, a metal pick, a plastic spudger, and a single-sided razor blade. The battery was packed in its own little box. Also included was a piece of double-sided tape and instructions. Before we begin, make sure that the watch is turned off. I started the installation process by removing the watch band. Then I unscrewed the 4 tri-wing screws in the back. I could remove 2 of them, but there's a magnet in the case that held the others in place. To avoid them falling out and getting lost, I placed a little tape over them to hold them in place. Next is the most difficult step in the replacement, separating the case. English was obviously not the first language of the person who prepared the instructions, since they said to separate the case with the case opening tool. Well, I was leery of using the razor blade, so I tried a more sturdy utility knife. Unfortunately, that was too thick, so I turned back to the razor blade. I was able to get it in between the front and back of the case. I had to make sure I didn't get it too deep since there's cables around the outside of the motherboard. Anyway, I took my time and worked around the case. I tried twisting a bit with the razor blade, but it cracked. However, I was able to separate it enough so that I could use the pick to pry it open the rest of the way. I set it aside and turned my attention to removing 1 Phillips screw from the motherboard. Next, I used the spudger tool to remove the cables from the motherboard. There are 5 of them. I just put the tool under one side and gently pried up. Then I used the spudger tool to lift off the motherboard, which I set aside. Next, I use the spudger tool to remove the battery connector cable from the frame. Then I gently remove the old battery, noting its orientation. I prep the new battery by adding a piece of double-sided tape to the side that faces the front of the watch. Then I gently put it back in the frame, making sure the battery cable was dressed properly. When it was in place, I pushed the new battery cable back into its recess and then pushed the battery firmly into place, making sure it didn't protrude above the frame. Then I lowered the motherboard into place, but there was a little component that popped out of the frame. I think it was a Bluetooth transmitter. I just put it back in its recess and then put the motherboard over it. I carefully snapped the motherboard back into place, and then I reconnected the 5 cables that I had originally popped off. Then I reinstalled the Phillips screw that held in the motherboard. Next, I reinstalled the case back. This took a little finesse. I found it worked best to put the side with the 3 holes down first, and then press the other side in and down. After it snapped in, I reinstalled the 4 tri-tip screws and reinstalled the watch band. Finally, the test was whether it would charge. I put it on the charge stand and the charge light turned a solid red. Success! Thanks for joining me today. I successfully replaced the battery on my Samsung Gear S2 watch. I understand it should be charged fully before use and then wait until it is fully discharged before charging it again. I guess it takes several cycles before the charging circuit recalibrates itself to the new battery. I'm looking forward to at least a couple more years of use. If you like this video, or you think someone else might, please give it a thumbs up. If not, give it a thumbs down. The more likes this video has, the more YouTube will recommend it to others. Also, please leave a comment or suggestion for things to do. I hope to do more of these videos, so please subscribe and click on the bell for notifications of new videos. Let's get together next time for another day in Life with David. See you soon!